long it takes to get from 2:59 to 3 o'clock, but we finally made it. So it is 3 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We have a full presence of our council, so we have a quorum, and we appreciate all of you being here today. As we do with every meeting, we're going to start this meeting with an invocation and follow that with our pledges to the American and the Texas flag. So I'm going to call on Pastor John Duncan of the Church of Horseshoe Bay to lead us in prayer. Thank you, John.
Before I pray, I'd like to express my appreciation for your service as mayor to our community, and we appreciate all that you've done and pray the Lord's blessing on your life in future days. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Lord, we thank you for Christ, our hope, salvation, and strength, and Lord, we thank you for our wonderful community that we live in. We thank you, Lord, that you bless us and guide us and lead us, and Lord, we really need that every day. We need your care. We need, Lord, your guidance, and Lord, we need your ministry in our lives. Lord, in this room, probably there are people who have needs and concerns and burdens, and we lift those up to you, knowing that we can cast our cares on you because you care for us. And Lord, today we pray for this meeting. We pray for the leaders of our community, and we pray again your guidance and blessing. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Well, thank you all so much for being here. These chairs in the front here are available. They're designated handicap, but that doesn't mean anything if handicapped people aren't here. We'd love for you to sit there. We have a full agenda today, but I'd just like to take a moment personally to thank all of you for being here. This is my last council meeting that I'll preside over as mayor. It's been an honor to serve the city for the last 6 years in one capacity or another. It's been an honor to serve with Cynthia Kleinsmith there, who was my mentor as mayor, and with all of the people up here. You've been wonderful colleagues, wonderful support, the staff. The city would not be what we are without the people who sit in this office and make it run every day. I'm so grateful to every one of you. I'm so happy that you're all still going to be here. I could not feel better about the handoff to Jeff Jones, and we're continuing the great custom of leadership in the city, and I'm just so proud that I was able to be a part of it. So thank you all for being here. I know some of my friends are here today to help me celebrate, and it's very special to me that you're here. Thank you. So the first item on our agenda is a proclamation declaring September 28th through October 4th as Source Water Protection Week. I hope we did a good job, September the 28th through October the 4th, of protecting our water, but we're going to proclaim that week now anyway. The Lower Colorado River Basin is one of the most vital resources for our region, and this proclamation is intended to bring awareness to residents and visitors of that fact. So I'm just going to read a few of the things that are said in the proclamation. Whereas the health, prosperity, and quality of life of the city of Horseshoe Bay citizens and community depend on a reliable, safe source of high-quality drinking water. Protecting our drinking water is essential to preserve our own health and economy and that of future generations, and all Horseshoe Bay residents are encouraged to recognize this precious resource and help conserve the watersheds that are the source of our water. September 28th through 4th shall be hereafter known as Source Water Protection Week in the city of Horseshoe Bay. And this will be filed by the city secretary. And I just want to thank Ray Garcia and where's Ray? And his staff for the great work that they do in providing us with clean water. So thank you, Ray, very much. Item number 2 is a proclamation declaring the month of October as Code Enforcement Officer Appreciation Month. Code enforcement officers provide for the safety and welfare of citizens throughout the United States through the administration of local codes or ordinances addressing various issues related to building construction, zoning, housing, animal control, environmental stewardship, and public health. Code enforcement officers are often have challenging and demanding obligations and often do not receive adequate recognition for the job that they do, improving living and working conditions for the residents and businesses of a local community. They are dedicated and highly qualified professionals. The City of Horseshoe Bay recognizes the outstanding service provided by the city's code enforcement staff, which consists, are they here, of Chad Mercer, Code Enforcement Officer, and Supervisor Mac Montano. Mac Montoya, is Mac Montoya here? And Code Enforcement Officer Jeremy Jacob. I didn't see him. Oh, there you go. So thank you all very much. They do have a hard job. Code enforcement officers are rarely welcomed when they show up somewhere. But the work that they do is very important, and we appreciate what you all do. So thank you so much. And the last proclamation is declaring November 3rd through 7th Municipal Court Week. And I know that we have our municipal court, Beth Kuntz is here, and also Molly is involved with it. Yeah. Okay, so the proclamation says municipal courts play a significant role in preserving public safety and promoting quality of life in Texas. More people come in contact with the municipal courts than all other Texas courts combined, and the public impression of the Texas judicial system is largely dependent on the public's experience in municipal court. The Horseshoe Bay municipal judge is not a policymaker for the city of Horseshoe Bay, but is bound by the laws and the canons of judicial conduct and is required to make decisions independent of the governing body of the city council, city officials, and employees. And Court Administrator Beth Kuntz is entrusted with the responsibility of coordinating municipal court activities for the city of Horseshoe Bay. We hereby recognize the vital services they perform in their dedication to our community. November 3rd through 7th shall hereafter be known as Municipal Court Week in Horseshoe Bay. Beth, thank you so much, and also to Judge Madison for the outstanding work that you all do on our behalf. And it's true, more people see the court system through the municipal courts than any other court, and they certainly see a smiling face when you're there. So thank you so much. Announcements. Okay, Jeff Koska.
Well, this one took a long time to get here. So today, we are gathered to honor the remarkable milestone of Chief Jason Graham. 25 years of service that he's dedicated to the city of Horseshoe Bay. In October 2000, Jason joined the police department as a fresh graduate from the police academy. What began as the first step of his law enforcement career grown into a quarter century of unwavering commitment to our community. Over the 25 years Jason has just served, he has excelled. He's worked his way through nearly every rank and role of a department of the police department, from police officer, sergeant, criminal investigator, captain. In 2018, he was named the assistant chief. Each position brought new challenges, and each time Jason rose to meet the profession's dedication. His commitment to excellence extended beyond the city limits. In 2018, Jason earned the prestigious Trilogy Award from the FBI Law Enforcement Executive Development Association, a distinction given only to those who successfully completed all three of the FBI EEDA institutes, the Supervisor Leadership Institute, the Command Leadership Institute, and the Executive Leadership Institute. This journey, which began in 2016, demonstrates his dedication to continuous improvements of professional development. In 2024, Jason's year of service, leadership, and deep understanding of our community led to his selection of the Horseshoe Bay's third police chief. Both the city manager and the police chief, Rocky Warlow, recognized what we all knew, that Jason was the best candidate for the position. He has constantly demonstrated and understand our community's expectation and has performed exceptional service to our city. Beyond his badge and uniform, Jason is a devoted father to his daughters, Ayla and Aspen. when whether he's kayaking on the lake, fishing, camping with his girls, or spending time with family, Jason embodies the value of our community. Family, dedication, love for a special place that we call home. I would also recognize that the Reese Association of Elisa Nauman has also helped Jason smile more and added to his happiness, and his mustache too. Chief Graham, on behalf of the city of Horseshoe Bay and all the residents have served for the last 25 years, we thank you. Thank you for your sacrifice, your leadership, your integrity, and your unwavering commitment to keep our community safe. Please join me in celebrating Chief Graham's 25 years.
Oh, it's going to be a nice picture. Thank you, Jason. Congratulations, Jason, but more than that, thank you. Thank you for 25 very dedicated years and for the great hands that our city is in. We really appreciate everything that you do and the professional kind way you do it, so thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is Ray Garcia. There you are, with another recognition.
Mayor, Council, on October 2025, this marks 10 years of service to the city of Horseshoe Bay and its residents for Aaron Watson. Aaron, come on up, please. Aaron's position as a grinder, pump, and motor technician. Aaron Watson began his work 10 years ago in the Utilities Department Field Division as a field operator and then moved into the current role as a grinder, pump, and motor technician. Aaron has repaired thousands, I say thousands, of grinder pumps and motors for our residents and has assisted in many other roles supporting field operation division during his time with the Field Utilities Department. Aaron has become the leading expert in grinder pump repair for the city of Horseshoe Bay and possesses a wealth of field operation knowledge that has made him an integral and valuable team member and mentor to field team members. Aaron has, he has wastewater collection Class 2 license and his water distribution Class C license. Aaron has become known not only for his vast knowledge and experience in field operations and pump repair skills, but also known for his generosity providing great barbecue and other delicious barbecue lunch specials, for volunteering his time to cook for his team members there in field and as well as the entire department. Aaron loves spending time with his family, fishing, and devotes his time to missionary work, both local and overseas in various countries. Please join me in recognizing Aaron Watson for his exemplary 10 years of service and dedication to the city of Horseshoe Bay and its residents. George.
One of the things I would say about Aaron is I worked with Aaron for the last few years. Aaron's a very quiet, reserved person, but Aaron has done research. But he's reserved. He has repaired so many grinder pumps. We think that he has saved the city about $800,000 per year. This is one of the only employees that actually makes it. He has always been the voice of reason. He's always trying to do what you did do right or what you could do better. Very much appreciated. He cooks in a different room now.
That's not the easiest job in the world, and we want to see you back here with a few more stacks on your recognition, because we don't want you to go anywhere. Thank you very much, Aaron. Thank you. So we've come to the part of the agenda for public comment, and before we go there, is there a way that we could get 3 more chairs set up? We almost made it, but if we could get 3 more back there. We've got chairs stacked up over here. Thank you very much.
Mayor,
And I know, okay, you know where, I've skipped you, Carrie. We're not gonna do public comments right now, because when we get to the area in the agenda where that comment is about, I'll call on you then. At this time, I want to, Carrie Craig, our Administrative Services Director and City Secretary, is in charge of soliciting members for new committees. So tell us what we've got for that.
We're recruiting for Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Adjustment this time. Those are the 2 groups, and we have, I believe, 3 vacancies on P&Z and 3 regular positions on BOA and 3 alternate positions on BOA. So the deadline for applying is November 1st. The application's available on the city's website. It's just a 1-pager, very simple. You can call my office, and you could come by and fill one out, whichever way you want to do it. But we encourage everyone to apply and be part of one of our groups and help let us know how you want to see the community handled.
Thank you. Yeah. It's wonderful when people volunteer to be on these committees, and we couldn't do our work without the Planning and Zoning Commission or the Board of Adjustment. So thanks, Gary. Okay, we're going to have a public hearing now. I'm going to open the public hearing at 3:16. The subject of this public hearing is application for approval of a replat of a lot at Mitchell Point at Skywater, which includes approximately 1.73 acres of land, and I'll let you explain what this is, Rick.
Yes, ma'am, of course. Thank you, Mayor, Council. I'm sorry, I was looking for the clicker, but,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
no, that's fine.
I'll let you click.
Okay, so what we have is as you said, Mayor, a replat of 1 lot into 3 at, sorry, let me find my place here. Approximately 1.739 acres of land from 1 single-family residential lot to 3 single-family residential lots located at the termination of Spice Lily in Zone 10 of Sienna Creek. And so, as it is platted now, this is the lot in question. This is what they are proposing to do, subdivided into 3 lots. The 3 lots will range from 0.524 to 0.6 acres each, consistent with neighboring properties on Spice Lily. The lot in question fronts on the cul-de-sac at the termination of Spice Lily. Identical frontages of 2 have an identical frontage of 48 feet, and 1 has 46. That's the abutment to the cul-de-sac. No variances or public improvements are required for this. This application qualifies for the streamlined process without a separate preliminary and final plat, so that's the part where we'll approve both at the same time, or council has the authorization to do that, as part of the subdivision regulations found in Chapter 10. There were some concerns in the P&Z about lot frontage and potential loss of Heritage Oaks on one of the lots. The commission noted that there's no authority to deny the plat based on that. We do have ordinances that address those, and so they will be subject to our tree ordinance and drainage, et cetera. So as such, the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval following the public hearing conducted on September 23rd.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Is there anyone here from the applicant who would like to speak? No? Council, do you have any questions on this application?
Nobody will have a shared use of a
The driveway.
driveway, will they?
No, sir. Nope, they'll all have individual.
And there was some issue about the frontage to the creek, 'cause that's the creek right behind it, right?
Yes, ma'am, right here. I'm doing this a little bit. I'm a little out of my element without Sandra, but yes, ma'am. Yeah, that's that creek back there. So I did have it. Now there'll only be, my understanding is just this lot. So
Oh, okay.
there's somebody from P&Z here, so if I say something wrong, just let me know. So,
Council members, the rest of you have any questions? Is there anyone here from the public who would like to speak to this issue? No? Okay.
Staff received no known opposition via email or letter as well.
And I'm going to close this public hearing at 3:20, and council, if someone would like to make a motion, we can move forward.
I move to approve the proposed replat as presented.
I have a motion from Councilmember Morgan. Is there a second? Second from Councilmember Waddell. All in favor? Is there further discussion? Did you have any?
No, I was just saying.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. Okay, so now we move on to business. And all of you signed up to discuss this. So we have a request for a variance from subdivision, I'm going to let you tell, this is the Rick's Ranch issue. So Rick, I'm going to let you, this is a long description, I'm going to let you tell us what.
Okay. And I'm assuming you don't want me to read it word for word, so I'll paraphrase with that. So, yes, Mayor, Council residents, this is to hear a variance to the subdivision regulations found in 10.03.462 of subdivision regulations. It's relief from general design standards related to cut and fill. So a brief overview of that is for cut and fill of a general lot, anything over 4 foot requires a variance. For public right-of-ways and infrastructure, anything over 8 feet. And so that is what you're here today to hear. This proposed subdivision, known as Richter's Ranch 1.0, is just shy of 55 acres, 54 and a half. It includes approximately 123 single-family residential lots and 7 commonly owned lots located at the sort of at the intersection of Mountain Dew and Rocky Ridge, Zone 4A of Horseshoe Bay proper. So, as you recall, this preliminary subdivision plat was denied by the council in November of 2024 due to noncompliance with the cut and fill. Since then, the applicant and their engineers have been working on a couple different proposals to bring forth to council to get that approval. It is a requirement prior to the preliminary plat that if they have that request, it be approved prior to adoption or prior to consideration of that. In my staff report, you'll see, so the applicant wants to use what is a paper lot approach. We did run it through the attorney. That is an approach that is allowed, but it essentially, what they're asking to do is they're asking for a variance to the cut and fill now for the public infrastructure. They're asking to defer the cut and fill on the lots to the future residents. They have some reason. They do have a presentation prepared too, if you'd like them to give that, or if you have questions ahead of time for that. But that's essentially today what we're here, is they're asking for a variance to that.
Okay, I'm sure we will have questions, but I think it would be a good idea if we saw your presentation first.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm, with Carrie's permission, I'm gonna hand her the clicker. It's up to you. Okay. Yep. So I'll move to the opposite side.
And your name, please?
Erin Sandoval with WGI.
Got it, thank you.
Sorry, that's backwards. Okay, like Rick mentioned, this is the variance for cut and fill. Mainly what we're gonna be looking at, that skips.
Oh, it's nice.
So this was, sorry, there's gonna be a lot of back and forth. So this was the previous one that you guys have saw last year. And this one is going to be the new one that you're going to be looking at today. I also have a few printouts if the presentation's a little bit too small for y'all to see. Okay, so with this, the variance is very similar to the previous one in regards to that we are
Why does it keep
asking.
going back and
I don't know.
We have, she went to get Jules,
Oh,
so
okay.
I think it's
I'm trying, I'm sorry.
No, it's not your fault, it's clearly.
So we are going to be requesting a variance for, I'm gonna just leave this here until she comes back. I do have these, if you guys wanna look, it has a little bit more, it's not our color coded, but you can see the new layout of the subdivision.
Thank you.
So this variance is for cut and fill. I'm just not going to touch that. Okay, thank you. For a right-of-way that is off of Mountain Dew, where there are existing residents off of there, along with our 2 open space lots that are providing detention and water quality for this future subdivision. Those are needing because they are exceeding that 4 foot within a open lot and not contained within the street right-of-way as typical public improvements are. So with that, we are requesting the variance. Sorry, I'm trying to memorize the presentation. The reason for the road off of Mountain Dew of why we need the variance, we did go through a couple of iterations with city staff on just maintaining that road as is in existing conditions and not touching it. But after some discussions back and forth, if we improve that right-of-way and provide a cul-de-sac, as you see in that top right-hand corner, that is going to provide an updated street section for those future residents and existing and provide adequate fire safety for those potential lots. If that road was to be left unimproved and kept as is, future fire trucks would kind of come to a dead end there and then have to back out on Mountain Dew versus that cul-de-sac would provide them that turnaround capacity should something be needed there. We also need the variance in that right-of-way because we are proposing to tie into that slope just south of that street and provide adequate 3-to-1 slope for our tie-in so it has more soil stability. I know in the past presentation, we had some concerns from council and citizens in regards to trees and in regards to the Horseshoe Bay Trail that's just south of our site. I think on that second page, you can see that we imported an image to show the relationship of what our overall development is in relationship to that trail. So, perfect. Okay. So this is the street I was talking about up here. We are proposing that mail kiosk as well, that requires a variance. In these next few slides, there'll be a closer up image of that. So the variance request, just to kind of bring light, is this street right here and these 2 detention and water quality ponds. Previously mentioned, this overall drainage plan with those ponds were approved back in March of 2024 by LCRA. They are allowing us to stack detention and water quality, so they wouldn't have to be 2 separate basins. We would capture water and we would treat water before discharging it into the Horseshoe Bay Creek. Along with Grassy Knoll, the proposed right-of-way, it is existing right-of-way, but again, we are going to propose to update it, upgrade it, and improve that right-of-way for future residents and those existing residents that take access off of it. As we know, this area is very steep with topography. Have to get a little bit creative, as Rick previously mentioned. We are trying to plat paper lots and only keep improvements within the right-of-way to avoid mass cutting and filling of this overall site to keep that natural topography. Some lots, are a little bit more creative than the other, but we think that, future home buyers looking at the terrain in Horseshoe Bay existing residents are capable of doing so. And it helps the overall development keep its preservation of its natural beauty. These are the 3 areas we are requesting variances for. If you can see, it's mainly the blue and pink that we are looking for that exceed that 4 feet, or this yellow. Everything that's green and red are within that 4 foot. So like I said, us tying into providing this street, we are able to keep the street within that 8 feet cut and fill. It is whenever we start tying back into those natural grades that we need to grade a little bit more to provide soil stability, as well as providing ADA spacing and mail kiosks accessibility for future residents. The detention ponds, they are pretty big, but that's just because I'm going to go back 2 slides, maybe. So this site, as you know, is adjacent to Horseshoe Bay Creek. A lot of this water from this nearby neighborhood is coming onto our site. So we do have to detain and treat that water a little bit excessively per LCRA standards. So with this grade and cut and detention ponds, this one is a little shallow because we're not taking as much water, but this big old boy is taking on a lot from neighboring area and treating it, and it's at the lowest point of our site to Horseshoe Bay. So we're keeping it in this area, not adjacent to a right-of-way as we could intentionally do, but would require more of a variance into those right-of-ways over 8 feet. We coordinated with city staff quite a bit, heard citizen concerns, and we wanted to make sure that we not only heard, but we addressed everything that was previously discussed. We did provide city staff global stability from our geotechnical engineer and our wall designer, since there are a little bit more excessive cuts for those ponds, as well as we did an environmental assessment with Pape Dawson Engineers. City staff has that report of their findings. Although they did see one bird, they did make mention into it. It's more of a traveler bird. They couldn't find a nest, they couldn't find a tree, they couldn't find what the environmental engineers distinguish as a habitable area for these birds. They did recommend to ensure that we are not removing anything that we should not be removing as far as trees for these birds, is to stay within clearing, again, only within the right-of-way, not the lots, clearing that's not occurring during breeding season. After that, regular construction can occur. It's just the clearing of trees should happen within a specific time frame. And then we did meet with the Hill Country Trekkers to talk about that proposed trail, to let them know how far we actually are staying away from that trail system, and we're not putting houses right next to it. There is that open space lot. You can kind of see it right here. So all these trees, you see it a little bit better on y'all's printout. All of these trees are going to remain, will never be touched with this development, and even future home builders, they're not going to be able to touch this because this is a 900 series lot. So no homes, no habitable structure, and we actually had a lot of coordination with the trekkers on how we can incorporate, you can kind of see this little open space right there, for this development, and how we can propose a trail connection to the Horseshoe Bay Trail. And I'll add it on at the last of these slides, but we were in some coordination with them and getting their input, since they, walk it weekly and every time what they look to see. The additional coordination that we will need to do as far as engineers is when we reopen our review with LCRA. LCRA does not allow for any pervious impervious pavement within their buffer. So no concrete sidewalk. It would all have to be low impact development trails, and it would all have to be done by hand, which our development is on board with doing and providing that for an amenity for not just the city, but for this subdivision. But there would be some additional coordination that needs to be had to make sure that we're abiding by LCRA rules. And then this is the printout that you guys have. So this is the trail system. So this black dashed line is our overall boundary line. But our home property line isn't going to be up, won't be up until up here. The city does require a 15-foot building setback line, so we have that shown there. So really what you're looking at is 210 feet between a potential back of home. We don't anticipate home builders going all the way to that property line, but that's in theory what they could do. We also have been working with city staff of providing open space on top of that building setback line, just to ensure that there's not going to be an accessory building placed back there as well. So this is where those homes are fronting that trail system, and as we kind of go a little bit north, this is that detention pond. And we're actually about a little bit over 300 feet away from the trail that starts tearing off over this way. If we were to adhere to city's current 4-foot and 8-foot variance, 4-foot and 8-foot cut fill requirements, we would have to severely probably alter the terrain for this site. We would have to do a little bit more of mass grading just to make sure that we have more workability to get the detention ponds. Those would be a way bigger footprint, as well with getting right of ways to adhere to what the existing topography is out there. So to avoid all of that, that's why we're coming once more to request this variance. And then to give a little, what we've talked about with the truckers, this is what we're anticipating that trail connection to be. That's going to be that proposed cul-de-sac down there. There is a separation between these two residential homes, and we would cross around, maintaining to avoid these trees to keep them, and then tie into that trail system down here where there's less elevation difference.
I have a question. Is this packet, is this information, did you all provide it or did they? I'm looking at page 23 where it's got a map and it's got all this red and green on it.
Page 23, if it's in your packet, that was provided by us. There's slideshows.
Okay, because what is the, I can't read the legend on page 23. What is the red and what is, I see the blue of the detention pond, but what is the red and the green mean?
That's wrong. So,
You
yeah.
may not have it.
Yep.
Yeah, this is going to be, and we can, I should have printed that out as well. So the red and green are under 4 feet. Everything that's cut and fill, not exceeding 4 feet.
That doesn't require variance.
Correct,
Got
yes.
it, okay.
Yes.
Okay, council, do you have any questions for either Aaron or Rick?
You've already got a significant amount of water that's coming into that first area on the left, which is going to be a retention pond, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that's without any development whatsoever on this track?
So these ponds are designed for maximum development. So they are accounting for future homes that are going on and everything. So for LCRA, to not get into too much of the weeds, you have to analyze your site as existing and proposed being the ultimate. So homes are there, that impervious cover, water's going to be flowing a little bit faster on driveways versus natural land. So this pond is designed for ultimate development with those homes.
I'm really interested in how many lots and where are they are going to require cut and fill in excess of the 4 foot?
We did not go too deep into that analysis just because these are going to be custom homes, and after touring a little bit more of Horseshoe Bay and seeing the uniqueness that some homes have with stilts and a little bit more exposed foundations, home builders can get creative and avoid that cut and fill.
So this would require new home builders then to come to us for a variance if they wanted a variance?
If they cannot get creative, yes, and I will let the home builders is a little bit more out of my realm.
I'm one of the owners on the project. I can speak a little bit more to that. The challenge with this is we're not home builders. We're only looking to plat the site and do the public improvements. So it's difficult for us to say what a potential custom home builder who purchases a lot from us would want to do specifically with the site. That it's hard to coordinate, potentially 100 different lots and say, okay, what size is the home going to be? How is the foundation going to look? What's it going to look like prior to even having a site plan that we can show to them? So, yes, if the home builders did need a variance, they would need to come to you for that. However, there are ways that you can design a home and a foundation so that you don't necessarily need a variance. And I believe as well, and Lacey, you can correct me if I'm wrong, a home foundation is exempt from the cut and fill requirements in the first place. So provided they're doing everything on that foundation, that would negate the need for a separate variance
Which
request.
could require a foundation that it's extremely tall on some of these lots, correct?
That is a potential, yes, but that would ultimately be up to the home builder and how they wanted to design that home.
So then you don't have really much of an idea on how many lots we potentially could be looking at in terms of cut and fill variances in the future? Because our concern is whether we're going to be faced with multiple people wanting cut and fill once you guys are out of it.
Yeah,
And it's going to take up a lot of time and effort, and then we're going to be hard pressed to deny someone if we've accepted somebody else's variance request. So
yeah.
I'd love to see which ones are more likely to be faced with cut and fill over 4 feet. I know you say you can get creative, but that doesn't define it much for me.
Yeah, and I understand that, and that's definitely a valid point. The challenge is there are, probably a dozen different types of home that you could put on any individual site. So to go through, each lot and map out all of the potential different variations is an incredible amount of, we would have to be essentially mind reading a future buyer and unnecessarily restricting the lots then if we were, to say like, and I don't even know if this would be legal to say something like, no variances or something like that. It's finding a way to strike that balance between allowing somebody to, build a nice home, not unnecessarily restricting them, but of course not unnecessarily burdening you guys with, additional work.
Rick, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Has your staff done any analysis of that?
We can, if I have the pointer, so roughly, to answer kind of what I think Councilman Jones was asking. So he is correct. It is difficult on a custom construction to really know exactly where they may place the house or not. Roughly, you can see a little bit from their grading lines. As they get darker and closer, that typically means you have a steeper grade of some type. So there is a ridge that goes through there. You can vaguely see it. You can kind of see it through here. So the lots that have the highest risk of that are going to be the ones where the gradient lines are closer together. So it's this section here. If you've driven out there, that section drops off quite a bit going back to the creek. Those are the ones that will be more challenging. In the very least, you've got a little bit here, but they're at least spaced apart. They don't have a lot of change in them, so it's probably these lots here plus or minus 30, I would say, that are going to pose the risk to council that you're referring to.
What's the average lot size, Rick?
I want
They're
to say
gonna
it's
be-
around 10, 12,000 square feet, something
Yeah.
approximately like
Just say
that.
it's 54 acres and 120 lots, which I should be able to do that, but
It's about a quarter acre, give or take a little bit.
All right, so what are you anticipating the housing size to be here?
Again, that would be up to
Understand
the
that.
builder,
Just-
but we're anticipating probably 3,000-4,000 square feet. They would be nice, large, custom homes.
That'd have to be multi-level, though.
I think, and I'm going to wing this without Sandra, I think the zone requires at least 1,800. This could be 2,400. There's a couple of things.
Well, it's
Michael, do you
2,400
know?
on a golf course.
Yeah. I think it's 18. Yep, 1,800 square foot minimum. So, but obviously, custom homes may be larger.
All right. How many of the roads, the existing roads, are having to be redone?
Essentially all of them.
So all of them will have to, because they do not meet current code, not just slope.
No, I understand the code.
Okay.
That's fine. I'm talking about cut and fill issues.
The roads themselves are not requesting, they're maintained within the 8 feet that's allowed.
All right, then the next question have you guys looked at this? This proposal is for 123 lots. If you reduce the number of lots, does that change cut and fill issues?
No. It does not. The topography is still gonna be the same, and it just, either you put that bad topography on a different piece of land or keep it on the lot that you're proposing. And that area that Rick had previously shown, is very similar to the topography that's off of Mountain Dew right now. If you see those homes we had them in our last presentation, where there are homes that are on stilts. Their backyard is pretty well below what their house is, but those homes were able to be constructed without that cut and fill requirement.
So on page 23 of your packet, though, it shows there is going to be either cutting or grading required on every single road you're putting in,
Yes.
not over the 8 feet that's included within the ordinance. So
Correct.
these that are red, there's probably going to be 8 feet of material either brought in or taken away, right?
I would have to relook at the legend, but yes,
Almost all of it has red on it.
yes, I know we changed the colors last time, but if you go back to the overall one, Rick, sorry.
So I guess what I want to know is how much are you going to bring in? How much material is coming in? How much material is going out? Is there any chance you're going to ask us for a rock crushing permit?
I think that just with the terrain that's out there, there's gonna have to be some sort of pulling up rocks that are out there right now. Just even the asphalt-ish roads that are there are just contained full of rocks. We would have to abide by that. I think we talked with city staff of what those hours would look like and duration, and I know that we, as the.
I think pardon me, so I think the question Mayor's asking, are y'all gonna crush rocks on site for processing, or are you just hauling them off? And not including jackhammers, but actual rock crushing? Are you proposing?
To be honest, we have not gotten that far. We're trying to get this variance. So we haven't gotten through like actual construction scheduling or thoughts and processes, but that is
reason-
something we would consider.
The reason I asked that is because we have a recent experience, and we didn't ask that question.
Okay.
And then we ended up with a big controversy because we ended up granting a conditional use permit for a rock crusher, and everybody wished that we had asked that question at the beginning. So I would like to know the answer to that question. Are you gonna need that? How much are you gonna take out? How many dump trucks are gonna come in and out of the neighboring property going down Mountain Dew? Those are questions that it's our responsibility to ask, and I understand that you're just trying to get to a point, and you haven't gotten that far, but for us, we would like to know the answers to those questions.
Yeah, well, I think that it's exactly what you just said, Mayor, is, there's a process that we go through between, platting and construction documents, and once we have that, then we can look at construction methods based on what's approved, and we're so early in the process at this point, it's difficult for us to be able to go to, a general contractor or, infrastructure contractor and say, hey, are you gonna use this method? Because they're gonna say, I need to see the construction documents, I need to see the plan in the area, I need to see exactly what I'm working with. I can't tell you until I have actual plans. It's extremely difficult to give a concrete answer
We have,
at this time.
Council, does anybody else have a question? Oh,
Mayor, if you mind, Lacey Ehlers, I'm legal counsel
Yeah.
for the applicant. So we haven't gotten to the point with a pro forma that would be able to give you the details exactly what you're looking for as far as the number of trucks, exactly the most cost-effective and time-efficient way to tackle the rocks. However, the applicant is willing to work within the code and work with the city to make sure that it is something that is not disruptive to the city.
okay, thank you. Council, anybody else have a question?
Yes. How deep is the east pond?
That one is gonna be about 6 or 7 feet.
Okay. And then the west pond is how deep?
We're going over 10, 11.
All right. And the majority of the variances is around the ponds, the lots around the ponds?
For this specific variance, we're only asking for the pond areas because we are not touching any of this dirt that's over here. We're only working within this open space lot, this drainage lot that we are essentially laying out for the subdivision.
But the variance there around the ponds comes up to the lot though, right?
For future, you're talking about the question back to potential home builders coming in for a variance? could if they, again, don't get creative, essentially.
Those lots are steep. So, yeah, the variance though is, like she was saying, they're not asking for anything on the lots at this time. It's just that, so it is steep, obviously coming off that road going down to the pond, but
We have 8 people signed up to speak on this question, so I'm going to call on Vicky Adcock. And Carrie has a timer over here. I'd like for you all to keep your comments to 3 minutes, and if you just want to say ditto to the person who spoke before you, that's fine too. So, Vicky Adcock.
I'll probably take a minute. Good afternoon. I'm Vicki Adcock, 1307 Cat's Eye. Thanks, first of all, to the City Council for listening to the truckers' concerns regarding the Richter Ranch project. I'm here today to provide an update on our experience with the developer and working through our concerns regarding the preservation of trees. I'm happy to report that they've assured us that they will not be clearing lots and trees will not be removed except if necessary in areas for roads and infrastructure. The new trail, if approved, will navigate around the trees, as was indicated earlier. The developer has provided detailed plans as requested and made every effort to assure all our questions and concerns were answered. Our next steps will be assurance that these custom builders that are going to be building on these lots will also respect the wishes of our community to preserve the beautiful landscape of trees that may involve education on the value of trees that trees bring, such as monetary, preventing erosion, slowing the rainfall runoff, and then cleaning the air and water, as I've mentioned at previous meetings. In summary, we're happy with the commitment from the developer on preservation of trees.
Thank you, Vicky. Ellen, is it Anguish?
Hi, Ellen Anguish, and I live at the corner, the intersection of Mountain Dew and Grassy Knoll, which is right where she was pointing out, where all that reservation, or that renovation is going to be done. I too am concerned, obviously, with the amount of trucks coming in, the construction, the noise, the traffic, not only during the improvement that they are proposing, but the long-term effect of 123 homes navigating through this area to build these roads. Right now, they are dirt, gravel paths. They're not wide enough for 2 cars. 1 car can go each way on those roads. I've driven it. I've walked them. I've hiked them. And they keep saying, oh, the water's not going to run off. It's not going to. Well, they're saying now they don't know. They hope it won't. But just a lot of concerns about their lack of, and they're saying we can't guarantee what these custom home builders are going to do. But if they're going to sell the lots, they need to put that in there, that you're restricted to these, you know what I'm saying. So anyway, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate your concern. Marilyn Campbell?
I've been before the council
Pull that
before,
down a little bit, Marilyn. There.
and I previously objected to this, and I still have an objection. I've read the current proposal that you had online, and to me, you're just kicking the can down the road to the future developers, to the new, those areas are gonna be expensive to build on if they don't cut and fill. And you're gonna have a lot of lots there, and is there any guarantee that they're gonna be sold after you get all these? We have other lots all over the country, all over this area, that they can build on, and you're gonna ruin that whole environmental Horseshoe Creek area. So I definitely object to it.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And Jeff Simmons?
Hi, my name's Jeff Simmons. My wife and I live at 1317 Mountain Dew. We also own the 2 adjoining lots. I have also spoken in the past against this variance. You've heard all the arguments today to deny this variance. It is a very steep property. It's very environmentally sensitive. It is going to take a tremendous amount of rock coming out of that property to build that infrastructure. And as you pointed out, what they're asking is, give us a variance today. You don't have to give the builders a variance tomorrow. But do you know how that's going to be? That's going to be impossible, because you've already signaled you will give in variances. And I hope you deny this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Well, I guess my concern is, and I don't get to vote, but I wish you would bring us something other than paper lots. It's our responsibility to look at these developments, every development that comes to us, and make sure that it's going to be a successful development. We don't want developments in our city that aren't successful, that the lots don't sell. And to hear that the lots are challenging, the building, it's going to be challenging. I don't want to set someone up down the road to buy a lot and it's too challenging or not cost effective to build there. And that, I wish you would have brought us more of a total picture of what this is going to look like. Maybe it's too much for you to do it. Other developers have done it. We've seen that with other developers where they brought us that we know there is a buildable building envelope on every lot. Maybe not the one that you would want, but it's possible. Is that unreasonable, Rick, to ask for?
Subjective, but it is, other developers have done that before. It would mean essentially you would have a cookie cutter home site plan and say this, they're not custom, but you could do that on these lots. So it is something that they could do.
Council, does anyone else have any questions on this?
I want to state that I think you guys have done a good job of addressing the trail and the trees. Hats off to that. I still think, from my perspective, there's too many lots. I think if you reduce the number of lots, better formulate how those lots would work in conjunction with the terrain, then it would have less impact for the custom home builders. I understand your point, and it's true, they can be creative, but a builder is going to want to be able to build a piece of property that he can sell at the cheapest price that he can do it. I mean, that's just common sense. And I think if you re-looked at this and reduced the number of lots, you can charge more for the lot, so it's not going to have an impact to you negative. But at least with reduced size in some of these lots, there won't be nearly the cut and fill issues for the custom builders. And I'd like to see you guys address that. That's my opinion.
I just wanted to address what you had brought up, Mayor, about making sure that there's a building envelope on each lot. We didn't do that for this presentation, but last November when we had come to City Council, that was one of the things that we had done and presented to Planning and Zoning, was we did essentially a conceptual layout on each lot showing we have enough space to build essentially a building pad. I don't remember the exact size of the building pad, but it would accommodate, I believe, a 4,000 square foot, either single or two-story home. So, we had done that on previous iterations. And
So you can do it?
Yes, the challenge with that is it's essentially just a rectangle on the lot, right? It doesn't go into engineering an actual foundation for the home on each lot. But we can definitely, show a concept plan that has, a box that says you could put a rectangular home with this square footage of the foundation on this lot. So,
You know what, I guess one of my concerns is I'm leaving. But I don't want to set this group of people up for 30 or 40 different hearings to decide whether they need a cut and fill variance to build their home. I don't think that's fair to the potential buyers, and I don't think it's fair to the council. If it's possible for you to address that up front, I think that's the way we should proceed, so that you know what lots are going to require it. And up front, that's just my thought on it, but I don't know if that's something the rest of you feel or not.
Just
Go
to
back to my point, a reduction in the number of lots will minimize some of the cut and fill requirements for the builders. So I would like you to look at this thing from a perspective. You're recommending 123 lots on 55 acres. If that was reduced 10, 15, maybe 20, how much would that reduce the
knows?
cut and
So
fill
we
ratio?
did look through,
Good.
we had many iterations with the city from last time we heard to now, and we looked into getting rid of some lots, but even if you were to combine these two lots right there, you still have that fall. So you're still gonna have to deal with that cut fill challenge, doesn't matter if it's two lots or if it's one lot. And even if you were to combine 1, 2, and 3, maybe you're not using that space and you're putting it here, but you're still, if
So-
you wanted to fully develop that lot, you would still run into that cut
So
fill.
you don't see let me see if I say it a different way. If there was a reduction in number of lots, it would give the builder more options on how to build on that lot. You understand what I'm saying? So if you've got an 8-foot drop, you've dedicated a lot that clearly they would have to get some kind of variance, or to your point, be creative on how building a stilt type of home. I'm just suggesting that if the lot was bigger, then how that builder builds on that lot gives him more options. It becomes easier and less of an issue. I just don't want, to the point that was made, I don't want to be going over this thing every other month with a new builder who wants to put a 10-foot side up in order to have a buildable, to build a lot. When all we'd have to do is expand the lots, because I think you could still make the same income. I'd just like to see you guys look at the potential of
Well-
expanding some of these lot sizes that will give the builder more options without having as much cut and fill.
Yeah, and we definitely understand that. And to Aaron's point, we did work on multiple concept site plans with city staff to look at different variations and what would happen if we, did remove 10 or 15 or 20 lots. One of the things that we have to do as developers is balance, what we can realistically do while staying within code or a reasonable variation from code and the economic viability of the project. And so you're definitely right. There is a way to reduce the number of lots and then get rid of cut and fill. To take a very extreme example, we could just subdivide the property into 2 lots and then we wouldn't need to do it. But, so it's kind of at what point in lot reduction do we actually achieve what's needed, or what, you're proposing. And what we looked at with city staff is kind of trying to find that line between at what point does the product, or does the project just not become viable. And in those lot reductions, we kind of hit this point where it's like, we would have to, cut down so many lots that it just doesn't even make sense.
I think we need to recognize that that they have some requirements in terms of our ordinances that they need to follow, and it's really not our place to tell them how to design the project. So if they, we may say we'd like to have 30 lots in there, but if this viably can have 121 lots, I don't think it's our place as a council to go in and say that's for not what you can do. I don't think that the density is something that we can really that we can really address as a council. And I have a feeling that Lacey's about to tell us that.
Oh, well, I was actually trying to hope to find some solutions, because I think we're sympathetic to the city's concern about what the lots are and the success of the project. And so the problem that we run into, not being the home builders, which it is very common for developers to have a divide between who the developer who does the paper lot, and then that's actually what goes to market. And so we're not in a position to be able to request the variances for the homes, individual lots at this point, because we don't have the engineering on it.
Understood.
So we would not be able to satisfy the application requirements to even bring forth the request without having a home builder on board, which we can't get the home builder on board without having the paper lot. So it becomes this chicken and egg. So what I was suggesting to Rick is maybe finding a middle ground. Maybe there is a plat note that can be suggested that eliminates coming back to you for 30 different lots. Maybe it comes as a single application for a set of lots that we have now engineered and we know that they're going to need the variance. So before they can move forward on maybe a certain set of lots, we have engineered those lots, the home builder has, and they come to you with one request instead of having multiple requests. And then you can look at it as a whole.
Which we would want Dottie to weigh in, obviously, on that.
Well, just as, I would say, from your own letter, you say that it just reduces, if you strictly follow the cut and fill regulations, it just reduces the amount of developable lots. And then you also say that it doesn't meet LCRA's water quality standards, but I don't see anything in the information that justifies that. So I think you ought to start with, if you strictly follow the city's regulations for cut and fill, what would that look like? And then look at reasonable variances on certain lots like the other developers have done.
Is that reasonable?
So if I'm following, looking at the individual lots and seeing if we can follow code?
You say in your letter that the strict adherence to the 8-foot cut and fill and the 4-foot cut and fill would limit the number of lots that are ultimately developable. What I'm saying is, what does that look like? The council hasn't seen that.
Well, I don't
And
believe
then,
we're speaking.
and then the other developers have done that and then shown what lots within the development actually need a variance instead of developing the lots as much as possible in order to make a good rate of return.
So we actually went over that with Roy when he was here, and why we say it would limit us to developable lots, because kind of the exaggerated but very truthful statement from Andrew is we would subdivide this into 2 lots, and that would be the two residential lots. We probably wouldn't need a detention pond anymore just because of the amount of impervious cover. We would get rid of roads. If we were to adhere and not do cut and fill, again, this life safety updated road would not be a thing. Those residents would have to maintain existing access from that dirt path. This pond would now take up even more of a footprint space and not be as deep, but I feel would be a little bit more of an eyesore. And then as well as this one, you would now have this pond probably wrapping around this LCRA buffer, getting closer to that trail. So we really tried to hone in and hide and place these things that match existing topography and nature and drainage, to kind of go back and want to hear, the citizens' concern of runoff and not capturing water. We are actually capturing all water. The street designs that we have culverts capturing it and all have to convey it into that pond. So we're not just letting water just loosely off our property. We have to capture it and treat it before discharging it off of our property. But to Dottie's point, we kind of went over what that would look like if we didn't need a variance. We would probably end with 2 lots. Probably a little bit more, we could probably get 6, but all of those roads would have to be gone. There would
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you just said.
If
To Dottie's point.
we were to develop this property and not need a variance, we could go through the city, get it platted. These streets would no longer be there. This path, these streets that people use as walking paths would not be there. They would be somebody's private property. So this connection, all of that, this would look different. It would be like 6 homes. Again, that's being a little dramatic, but it wouldn't be as open with mobility, traffic-wise, and walking-wise.
So your development, you're saying, under the ordinance that is in place, would go from 121 homes to 6? Did I misunderstand what you said?
Well, I think the greater point is that we worked through this exercise at length with Roy for, many, many months in exploring all of, the different questions that have come up. And I'm sure that, the Planning and Zoning Department has the notes of all of those meetings and all of the iterations that we already did. So, we're happy to put, I guess another, we can put another presentation together. I think part of the challenge and where we're a little confused is that we feel like we've been asked these exact same questions. We went through multiple, revisions with city staff to find an acceptable alternative, or what we believe would be an acceptable alternative that addresses the concerns as best we can. And that's what we're presenting, and then being asked like the same questions, can you do this? Can you do this? And I'm stuck on how we can actually get the answers there, or to assure you that we have run through those exercises and looked at these various alternatives.
Well, you got to admit that we haven't surprised you with regard to the fact that we've always been interested in
Yes.
where the cut and fill is going to be.
Yes, definitely.
So we haven't changed that much.
That's true, and we've reduced a significant amount. If we, oops,
Yeah, other way.
sorry, I'm going the wrong way.
It's counterintuitive.
So, in the top left here, this was the original plan that we had presented that was defined. And you can see there is a lot more cut and fill that is outside of the right-of-ways there. And we've, worked extensively to revise that to now what we're currently proposing, which is in the bottom right, which does still require a variance, but the cut and fill is very, very minimal. And it's, basically almost exclusively within the detention ponds and then this small cul-de-sac to, to the north, on the northeast.
I don't know why I'm thinking this, but did Roy ever present you with an iteration of about 80 lots? If you reduced it to 80 lots, that you would not need cut and fill?
So we didn't look at the cut fill, but I think the one that you're talking about, 80, if I'm remembering correctly, was what this development originally came to city staff and did like a pre-development meeting and said, hey, here are acre, half acre lots, there are 80, but they're all gonna be served off septic. But city proposed, no, we want to extend our infrastructure, we want to do that. In order to make that viable, to provide that amount of utilities and infrastructure, they had to downsize the lots ever so slightly and add more lots to make sure that those utilities could be installed.
Do you have anything to add, Rick?
So I guess with both attorneys, to weigh in on, I think the biggest concern of council at this point is if y'all grant this variance as it is, as one of the residents said, it kind of kicks the can for some of the variances to future home builders, et cetera. Would it be something, just kind of spraying on, I don't want to speak outside of my expertise zone as far as a phase plat, et cetera, but, in the gist of a plat note, et cetera, could they carve a section out? Would they be willing to carve a section out and say, we'll either phase it or we can phase construction, et cetera, and then go back and do the engineering on that section to show what the variance would look like? And I'm talking specifically to these areas we've outlined that are likely to have either cut and fill or it'll take a higher tier home builder to navigate those. Is that something council would be interested in, or?
So you're saying cordon off a piece of it to do a prototype?
No, that's a good idea too, though. No, potentially phasing the actual plat or the construction to say, if y'all were to grant this, one of the things you could do is the lots you're concerned about, you could carve those out for now and do a phased approach and say, all right, we're going to ask the owner and engineer to go back to take a better look at this, to actually engineer what would it take to build on these lots. We can assume average home size or whatever is appropriate, and say to build on that lot it would take this, and so we'll ask, again, they would have to come back, it would be another cut and fill variance, but instead of punting it to, we're going to say 30 individuals, it would be the applicant coming back and saying, okay, we'll ask for it in this phase, we'll ask for a variance for these sections. And then, the protection of council is if, hypothetically, if you already do that and agree to that, if a home builder comes later and wants to do something different, they can do that. But it would give council, I think, it would give you a better leg to stand on to say, well, we already approved a variance for this. And so if you want to do something different, we may or may not agree to that.
I don't think you have enough information.
That's what I'm saying. It
To
would
be able to make a motion on that recommendation.
receive.
I really think that this matter deserves postponement to explore the questions that council has raised.
Is that-
With all due respect, our request is only for the road and the 2 ponds. We're happy to figure out a way that we can come back to the city and address the lots, but we're not in a position to be able to apply for those applications or give you the engineering for them. So within the bounds of what is being requested today, we cannot apply for a variance for the lots. That is why that information has not been provided. Our request is for the road and the 2 drainage ponds.
The road being the top right.
That one. And the reason that we requested that road, and Rick can back me up on this one, it is an emergency request because of the fire truck. So that one is, while we could try to angle the road to avoid it, it would not be ideal for fire safety.
Dottie?
I still don't think you have enough information to be able to grant the variance with some of the questions that have been asked. I would recommend postponement.
You know, we could postpone this, we could just postpone this issue until the November meeting and make sure that I don't want to put you in a position that this gets denied. I'd rather make sure that the questions that are of concern to council are answered, and that we work it out. That's a thought. I don't know if council would like to do that, or if you guys want to vote, somebody can make a motion.
You know, we're still gonna be faced with, down the road, revisiting this at some point. And
So I think
that's gonna be
if it is
aggravating.
going to be down the road, if you guys want a full engineered plot of land, we're gonna have some upset citizens because we're gonna mass grade this site. We're gonna have to remove a lot of trees. There will be tree wells. We're not gonna remove all of them because we'll have to go by city ordinance. But if you guys want to see the true engineering of all lots right now with what we have without the home builder and stuff, you are going to be looking at a mass grading of this entire site. We can make it to where we're still within the limits of 8 feet within right-of-way and 4 feet within the lots. But that natural beauty out there is gonna be destroyed.
But how does that change?
We wouldn't have to come for a variance. We would be able to engineer the site to be within the constraints.
Okay, all right.
It's just gonna be real ugly.
Well, I understand. What you're proposing is preparing the whole development as opposed to piecemeal. All right. The reality of this, because of the densities of the trees and some of the cut and fill issues you guys are gonna have, at some point in time, somebody's gonna come in here and say, I gotta take out these 3 trees, and we gotta have this cut and fill. Now, what you're saying, I understand your point, and your point's well taken. If we look at this as a total development, to get to down to the specific engineering, you gotta blast through the whole area. All right, but you're missing, I think, a key point for us. The bottom line is, this is a beautiful area, has been and will be. I go back to my original comment that if there was a relook at this thing with less density, then the tree issues and the cut and fill becomes minimal, because now you're giving the custom builder, instead of having a 0.5 acre lot or whatever it is, maybe it's a 0.6 or 0.7, he has that many more variables of where he can do that without impacting the tree, the foliage, as well as the cut and fill. My whole issue with this, I think you guys, like I said, you did a great job on identifying the trees and the trail. I think you've done a wonderful job. The fact that you've done the retention ponds, I think that, the only issue I have is I don't think you've looked at this from this perspective of, and I know you're having to look at the economics of how many, the more lots you have, obviously the more potential sale revenue it is when you present it to a builder. But I still think a smaller number of homes gives the builders more options.
Okay.
So I just have a quick question for Rick or either attorney. with this variance that's being heard for these ponds in the street, we're not locked into the lots that are shown on this, correct? So can-
No, and they can weigh in. No, so the variance would be for the sections, the variance would apply as you've asked for those sections of the right of way. You could, before preliminary plat, as long as it doesn't trigger an issue to require another variance, you could alter
So
the
it could
lot
be,
layout.
Okay,
yeah,
Yeah.
so
All right.
we aren't, yeah.
Because we're before prelim plat.
okay, that's okay.
so that
'Cause
is
I
something
understand
we
you gotta
could-
have a variance for the ponds. And-
Yes.
And I understand that, and I understand the variance for the street,
Yeah,
but I don't like
for the
the
lots.
whole plan.
It would roughly, and I say this loosely because you can always ask for another variance. Sorry, council, but they could come back. So it kind of locks you in for the right of way and the ponds for that section, but the lot layout could change.
Which
As long as it doesn't
ponds haven't changed.
trigger it.
Okay, so unless any of the other council members have any questions, I think we've talked this thing to death. The options are we're either going to approve it, we're going to deny it, or it's going to die for lack of a motion, or we're going to continue it. So I'd like for someone to make a motion as to what they would like to do.
I'd like to continue it until next council meeting so that I can consider the additional information that we have.
Okay, and what additional information are you requesting that they provide us?
I would like to see the calculations that you came up with when you said it's not viable for us to do this without variances unless we go down to 6 or two lots or whatever you said. You might have been exaggerating on that, but you obviously had some type of calculation in mind that you did that. You said, oh, it's not viable for us. I'd love to see what that was.
So when they went from putting septic in to putting the sewer, you're saying you would
Well,
like to
no,
see-
it's,
Well, that's part of it too.
yeah, that's part of it, but it's not the whole thing.
No.
No.
Okay, well, I think we will continue it. I don't know that you've got the votes right now, so let's continue it until the November meeting. And I'm going to ask Rick to meet with the council members individually that have expressed concerns so that we're certain what the questions are. And that I want to be clear to these developers on what we're asking so that we're clear. And by the way, I also appreciate how hard you work with
And
the
Mayor-
neighboring community.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you need to ask for a motion to postpone to the next meeting.
Okay, then I think I just got one.
I'd like to make a motion that we postpone it until the November meeting.
Is there a second? Second from Councilmember Waddell. All in favor of postponement?
Aye.
Can we have one bit of discussion before we vote?
Sure.
I just sense a lot of frustration on their side. No, I just sense a lot of frustration on their side. And I mean, it's not fair to either side. This thing gets batted back and forth and back and forth. And, you know, we tell them to do something, they come back, and then we tell them to do something else, and they come back. We gotta find the 20-point peace plan that, you know, that comes up with what we need, what does the city want, and tell them what they need to do to make it right for the city. And we'll be batting this thing back and forth until the mayor after Jeff.
Yeah.
So I'd just like to see us,
That's a very good point, Buck, and I think that's well spoken. Better, you said it better than I was trying to.
In a nutshell, what
yeah.
we're feeling right now.
I don't-
We definitely want to work with y'all. I think that we've demonstrated that.
Yes.
But yeah, having some
So-
specific information about what
Right.
we need to do would be extremely.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor of postponing this until the November meeting?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you. And Rick is here to stay. You've got someone that you can talk to and work with, and
And
Good luck.
I'd like to be the first one. I want to see I want to understand the pond. I want to see physically walk that area.
Okay, yeah. If council members, if y'all reach out to me and let me know who wants to.
so let's move on to item 8B on the agenda.
Yeah,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here. request for relief from either or both the amount or form of fiscal security otherwise required for the Trails Phase 4 final plat. Rick? I didn't see anyone from the Trails here. Oh, yes, I did. Yes, I did see someone from the Trails, yeah.
Sorry, let me move back over to this podium and I'll.
Do you have a, something to show us?
I do.
Oh,
I'm trying to
okay.
get to the
Okay.
computer stuff. Okay. No, there's no slides. I apologize, Mayor. So, there are slides?
Oh, not for that, I'm sorry.
This is, I mean, do you have slides for this?
No.
Oh, I don't think so. Okay, I was going,
And
it's really just tell us what it is, yeah,
just don't look at the screen. I don't know what I did.
yeah.
Sorry, Mayor Council, so this is a request by the developer for Trails Phase 4 for, I'm going to say, alternative fiscal security. They asked to either reduce the security required or change the type that's required. So our ordinance requires fiscal security. It mentions a bond, but it says fiscal security that's acceptable to the city. Our interpretation of that is the city council when they say city. So this is found in Chapter 10 of our Code of Ordinances, also subdivision. The requirement is for a construction bond in the amount of 120% of the approved engineer's opinion of probable cost for public improvements. The purpose of this requirement is to provide the city with means to complete or remediate a project if the developer does not complete it, such as if they were to stop in the middle of it and leave open ditches. Obviously, that poses a safety risk. The city would want to remediate that and then, reseed and et cetera. If council entertains the request, what staff is recommending on advice from legal counsel is a hybrid approach. We'd suggest requiring a bond for a portion of the cost, roughly 33%, and an additional letter of credit with collateral for real property to satisfy the remaining 67%. I'm going to leave it to Dottie, though. I don't want to speak for her, but she has thoughts typically on what she advises us to do, so.
The letter of credit, if you choose to go with that portion of the staff report, should be from an accredited financial institution, and also have the city attorney approve as to form to make it so that we can have it payable and on demand and not have to go through some of the standard letters of credit you don't easily collect on.
What do you mean by an accredited financial institution, Dottie?
So it's a, the bank meets specific regulatory or quality standards to operate. So whatever bank they chose, we would make sure it's accredited.
Oh, okay, so I think, Robin, you're talking, I mean, I got a letter from the Bank of the West. Is that who you all are?
Yeah, that's who's going to be our lender. And first of all, thank you. My dad would be here. He was very ill last night. We think he has the flu, so he could not show up today. So I apologize. He wanted me to apologize for him, but hopefully I can convey everything as he would. So for those of you that don't know, my dad, Michael Walsh, he developed the first 3 phases of the trails. He also developed the Horseshoe Bay Center, which involves the grocery store and the Ace Hardware. And I'll just read this letter that I had written to you guys along with the letter from the bank. On behalf of Michael Walsh, general partner of Trails Phase 4, I respectfully request that the city waive the performance bond requirement for Phase 4 of the Trails of Horseshoe Bay. Over the past 25 years, Mr. Walsh has successfully completed all 3 phases of the Trails of Horseshoe Bay, creating a residential neighborhood that reflects the city's values of quality, low-density living, a preservation of natural surroundings. He has also developed 2 of Horseshoe Bay's most prominent commercial centers, anchored by local operated businesses and supported by high-quality tenants. Each of these projects was completed to a high standard and has become a valued part of our community. Importantly, this developer has a consistent record of completing every project, even in difficult economic times. Conditions have always, and he has always delivered what has been promised. Phase 4 is a continuation of an established neighborhood, which further reduces risk, and its scope is primarily limited to roads and utilities that will be fully inspected and overseen by the city. In addition, the project is responsibly structured, financed by a local lender, which would be Bank of the West, constructed by quality local contractor, which is approved by the city, of course, and supported by investors who own property and live in the trails. So myself, my dad, and many of more than 75% of the investors all own property or anchored there. Given his history of reliability, strong community ties, and the limited scope of work, we respectfully submit that waiving the performance bond is a fair and practical request. Approving this waiver will both recognize the developer's past contributions and support the timely, successful completion of Phase 4, further enhancing the city of Horseshoe Bay in line with its vision. The performance bond, I just want to point out that all these projects that he has done in the past, the trails, the grocery store, anything he's done, he's never had a performance bond in the past. And he's always been able to complete the project, and these are beautiful projects that are staples in our community. I think he's more than proven that he is responsible and doesn't leave projects open-ended. He's completed everything he's ever done with, high standards. To do a performance bond, kind of contrary to what we just heard, we have a property that's 165 acres and we're doing 39 lots. So these are large acreage lots, and as you can imagine, that's difficult financially, but we're making it work. And so to do a performance bond is very expensive, and we kind of see it as an unnecessary expense. We know we can complete the project. We're going to have the loan. If there's any hiccups, we get another contractor. But the money is going to be there, and our bank has written a letter saying that. The thing about Bank of the West and Sandy and Susan over there is they've been involved in all the projects as well. So they know that he'll complete it.
So they're willing to issue a letter of credit to cover that?
Well, the letter of credit could be a possibility, but that's expensive too. I mean, the banks charge you for a letter of credit. So, I mean, what we're asking for is a waiver of the bond. If there's, like I said, on all the projects we've completed in the past, we haven't had to do those, and we've completed them. I think it's important to note that the projects that I'm talking about have been here in the city of Horseshoe Bay, and we see them every day. And the trails is, it's a great development that's focused on nature. It's everything the city wants, and we're just trying to continue that out.
Thank you. There's no doubt that
Yeah.
your dad has done, you and your dad, because I know you've been real involved.
Well,
You've done-
mostly him, for
Yeah.
sure, but like, he has a proven track record.
Absolutely.
And I think that we could all safely say that he'll complete the work. I mean, there's nothing that's going to stop us from finishing this. And we're very rooted in the community, and like I said, the people putting up the money, the bank feel comfortable with us, plus we have all of our investors are also in the community.
Our packet says that the request is to allow a letter of credit from a local bank in lieu of a bond requirement. So that was not your request?
No, I accidentally we had talked about a few things, and I had accidentally set the wrong letter, just from the bank. It's one Sandy had written ahead of time. They will provide us one if we need to, but the request, I had asked them to switch that out, so it was sorry that y'all got that. But the request that we're making is to waive it.
Why?
We're trying to reduce, like we said, we're trying to reduce unnecessary expenses. It's already very expensive. One of the things that we're adding to do over there is, I'm sure y'all have been talking, or the city has been talking to Blue Lake about how are we going to get the people in the trails off of the wastewater over there with the mud district. So right now, there are 140 home sites over in the trails. And when my dad first did the trails, there was not a city. So he was talking to the Lano Mud District, and he contracted for 100 connections over there to do the wastewater. So right now, there's 140 home sites. There's about 80 people over there that have connections with the Mud District, and we're going to run out of them. So we're also finding a solution to that by putting in our own grinder pump, which will take all the people in the trails off of the Llano County mud and onto just the city.
And you're building a line directly to the wastewater treatment plant, is that correct?
No.
No?
No.
No, it's going to connect on the other side, on the downside stream of the lift station that is Blue Lakes Lift Station, and tie into that line. And what we've talked about is that line where that connection, if we had to do a trade-off, because I would like to get all the people off of, out of the trails and having to pay an additional fee that they pay to Blue Lake for that. And what we would do is trade off and take over that line from that point of that connection all the way back to the plant itself. And then we would be responsible for maintenance of that line during that time, which is a better effect on us.
You know, definitely I know there's been some complaints from some of the people in the trails about having to pay that fee and also paying, you know, the city as well when, so it's kind of getting in front of a problem that is going to happen eventually when these, at least just out of the 140, when they get to 100 connections, at least my conversations, with them, with Jessica over there, is they're not interested in adding any more connections, so.
This will take it off.
Council, do you have any questions?
I just have one question. It was all the stuff that Mike did was prior to the city, and that's why there wasn't a performance bond? I'm just trying to understand why
The
never been
the ordinance requires a performance bond or an acceptable form of credit. Isn't that right, Rick? That's exactly.
So,
Why wouldn't Bayside?
why would, that's the one I was gonna ask, why,
I don't know, you help me out.
Bayside doesn't have public water lines, so
Bayside,
they're
yeah,
actually
right.
private. So it's only
thank you.
public infrastructure. It's not buildings that require it.
okay, all right,
Right,
I
yeah.
understand, Okay, thank you.
How many of these waivers have we given in the past?
Jeff may weigh in. To my knowledge, we've not waived one. Council has allowed a letter of credit before, not to speak for Dottie again, but she has an opinion on that, so.
This isn't even a letter of credit, though.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is,
they're
they're asking for a
requesting a waiver.
waiver.
This is just a total waiver.
Yeah.
How do you
Well-
feel about that, Dottie?
Well, the ordinance says financial assurance, so it doesn't say letter of credit or leaves it up to the council to make that determination. I don't know what the council did in the past to not, in what they looked at as financial assurance. So that would be, but you have a lot of leeway there on financial assurance.
Yeah, on financial assurance, I mean, like I said, we know that we're gonna have our development loan from Bank of the West. If something were to happen, can Bank of the West write a letter saying the city can use the funds? I don't know if, like, y'all wanna use, you know, it's for you to use the funds, maybe they can provide a letter saying that, you know, we would allow the city to use the funds to complete the project, or, I don't really know what the financial assurance means either, but we have financing. The money will be there.
Reason,
If there's ever a project that has financial security, it's this.
Yeah.
I agree.
Built out
That's what it
three
does.
very successful phases, and this is the fourth one, you know,
Yeah,
you've got a track record, no question about it.
thank you.
The reason we have that is for, if there is a developer that doesn't have financial resources and they stop, and that happens. We've seen that happen with multiple projects that are developments. And then the city's left with infrastructure and different places that are just, you know, a mess. Then we have to go in and we use the bond either to finish it or to clean it up and get it back to nature.
Yeah, and it's important to note too, though, that with what we're talking about, it's just roads and utilities, basically, which my understanding of that is the city watches that. I mean, it's basically your stuff, right? So you're gonna be monitoring it and you're gonna be inspecting it the whole way. So when the contractor comes in there and he, you know, puts something in, the city, the engineer, and the bank are all gonna go inspect it. They're gonna make sure that it's perfect, and then we're gonna pay the guy. And that's how it moves through. So there's very little room, I think, for anybody to default or for there to go haywire.
I don't see any risk at this at all.
Yeah.
My question is, are we setting a precedent? I just want to avoid a precedent that somebody can flip back on us. I have no issue with granting this.
Thank you.
But I just want to make sure that this can't be used against us. Can we say this is tied into the previous, and this was just a continuation of what we've already agreed to, or something to that effect?
For the first three phases.
Dottie, is there some way that you could say that we could word something in agreement with the bank that would allow us to be in compliance with the ordinance?
I think you could make a motion to accept financial assurance in the form of a letter from the bank verifying the loan that is going to be the cost to complete the road and the utility lines. And
Would that instrument cost you?
I don't think a letter, as long as it's not a letter of credit, those do cost, which I did not know, but I learned. But a letter from the bank, from Sandy and Susan, a Bank of the West, that should be fine. I don't see a problem with
As
that.
long as we don't have, as long as we're not setting precedent, we just got to make sure we covered ourselves on that.
and that this developer has been in good standing with
Yeah.
the city, having completed
That's
three
why I wanted to say
three
whether
other
it was a
phases.
continuation of
Yeah.
previous agreed upon because of phase 1, 2, and 3.
Hey, Frank, do you want to make a motion?
I don't know how to do that. I mean, I'd love to. Make a motion that we approve phase 4.
It's on page 26.
Give it to me. Does it say what we want?
No,
You're gonna have to
I
add.
move
You're going to have to add to it, yeah.
I move to approve the request for relief. What the hell word is this?
Well,
Regarding-
in your motion, you want to say, I move that the applicant has shown financial assurance
Yes.
for Phase 4, and will provide a letter from the bank that details the loan that's sufficient for the roads and utilities, and that the financial assurance is based on the developers being in good standing and having completed 3 other phases.
I'll second that. Did you write it down, Carrie, that I can read it?
I'm going to listen to it later.
I move to approve the request for relief regarding fiscal security of the Trails Phase 4 as provided by staff provided the applicant provides financial assurance in the form of a letter from the bank verifying the presence of funds to complete the public utilities required. Does that sound okay?
Perfect. I'm okay with that.
And I think it also say on the basis of their record.
Yes.
Okay, and on the basis of their past performance in previous projects, so, okay.
Just as long as
You
it's-
kind of have that, Carrie? Okay, so Frank made a motion.
Yes, thank you.
Is there a
A lot of
second?
help.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Weatherby. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank
can
you
go
very
home
much.
to a
Really
happy
appreciate
daddy.
it. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is Resolution 2026-03, authorizing the transfer of the Summit Rock Pit assessments collected by Llano County to the trustee pursuant to the Summit Rock Pit PID deposit agreement. And Jeff,
Yes, ma'am. I'll make this quick. This was a continuation of the work we were doing last month on the Summit Rock Pit to be paid off for the city infrastructure that the city had put up in view of a like impact fee. And so what we determined is that once the city gets paid off of their $7.5 million that was vested in the interest of the Summit Rock Pit, with this payment of the $3 million that we're going to get, that we would direct the money to go straight to the resort from the Llano County MUD. To do that, we have to have a resolution that directs the Llano County MUD to do that. And so the resolution does that.
it's going to a new entity created called the Summit Rock PID
Yes.
LLC.
Yeah, that's
Which
the-
happens to be
yeah. So it'll go from the Llano County MUD to the, Llano County CAD to the trustee, and it'll be dispersed to the trustee.
Okay.
So that's the resolution part of this. There's also an agreement in here, which is for the custodian, which is Region Banks, that will we'll disperse that money in accordance with that
And
resolution.
just as a clarification, Jeff Jones and I met this morning with Jordan Jaffe, who's the managing member of that LLC, and they have not, I don't think he's actually signed the documents yet, but he said that their attorney has reviewed them, he's ready to sign them. And so we told him that, and this is my recommendation, is that we pass this resolution, but that we direct staff not to send it to the Llano County MUD until the signed documents as well as the payment for the note payoff have been received by the city.
Yes, ma'am. We'll
So,
make sure that.
Council, do you understand
for that.
what we're discussing here? Does anybody have anything else to add to that? Questions?
And there's
Heidi?
one other item, Schedule B to the deposit agreement was not provided by the bank.
Right, okay, yes, this handout that you guys got, the additional one, it's exactly the same that was in your packet. However, we need to include Schedule B, which is just contact information. So I'd like for someone to make a motion on this, including my suggestion, as well as the fact that we need to include Schedule B in the document.
I move to approve Resolution 2026-03. Is that the right number?
Yeah.
Okay. And Summit Rock Public Improvement District Deposit Agreement as developed by the city attorney and as presented by staff, provided, however, that the city staff shall verify both the PID agreement has been signed by the managing member of the Summit Rock PID and the deposit funds have been received by the city prior to delivery of this agreement to the Llano County CAD, I guess it is? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, CAD,
The resolution to the CAD.
the resolution. And I also would like to include the fact that Schedule B is attached to this motion, confirmation of contact information in Schedule B.
Okay, motion made by Mayor Pro Tem. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is any further questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Great, okay, moving right along. The next item on the agenda is Resolution 2026-02, designating an official newspaper for fiscal year 2026. And Carrie, do you want to tell us about that?
I'll be very quick with this one. The state law simply requires the city to designate an official newspaper every year, and we do this in October each year. These newspapers have to meet certain requirements by law. The Beacon is the community newspaper, but it does not meet the state requirements to be considered a designated newspaper, so we have to look elsewhere. What I've done is collected information from other newspapers in the area and compared those. I've provided that in the staff report. The Llano News has pricing that is the least expensive, and their subscribers, they do have subscribers locally. Staff is asking council to designate a newspaper.
I'd like to point out that the Llano News price that you guys see on page 44, that price will include publication in the Llano News and in the Beacon for that same price. And we're gonna put it in the Beacon anyway, because council has always voted to do that, because that's who reads it. So that one price of the example pricing that they give you is for publication in both of those.
That's great.
Are there any questions for Carrie? Would someone like to make a motion?
I move to approve Resolution 2026-02, designating the Llano News or the Highlander as the official newspaper.
No, you want to designate
Llano
the,
News.
Oh, okay, the Llano News. As the official newspaper for the city of Horseshoe Bay for fiscal year 2026.
thank you. I have a motion from Councilmember Weatherby. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mayor Pro Tem. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, regarding the consent agenda, is there anything anyone would like to see removed from the consent agenda? Okay, so is there a motion to approve it?
I move we can approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion from Mayor Pro Tem, second from Councilmember Hosea. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any liaison reports?
Yes.
Possibly.
Ray, are you still here? Yes, sir. Why don't you give an update on what happened today?
Mayor, Council, about 12:30 today, our contractor had hit our main water line coming off of our high storage. And that supplies the summit and the lower area of the air park and airport area. It was immediately secured by our field department and the contractor. They both worked together. The repair was about a 6-foot section of line. It's restored, repaired. We're moving on, flushing lines. It was unfortunate, but that section there kind of meandered. They thought they were on line to keep digging, and the line shot back out. And by the time the guy realized that he had taken out a 6-foot section of our main, but that's since been repaired and restored, and we're back up and running.
Thank you. So the notice went out to the
The
public.
notice has been sent out by Jeff's
Thank you.
approval.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about the 20th anniversary?
I would love to talk about the 20th anniversary. Don't forget the 20th anniversary of this city on the 25th of October at the new city center. If you don't know where it is, you've been under a rock. And it's going to be fun. We got plenty of parking that's available right there on 2147. Signs will lead you there. When you park, you've got shuttles that'll take you right to the event, and there's a chance to get all kinds of swag from all the vendors, as well as a chance to win prizes. So come stock up for the grandkids. 11 to 4.
Thank you.
I got
Any other-
excited reading about it in the Beacon.
Yeah,
when I was on the
good.
committee.
And you're on the committee, that's right. Anybody else have a liaison report? Uh-oh, somebody's having a bad day. Okay, Jeff, what have you got for us?
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted Tim to report on the completion of his road project.
Okay?
Good job, by the way.
Yeah. Bay West Boulevard looks great.
Thank you. So as Jeff alluded to, we are finished finally with seal coating. We started August 5th and completed it October 8th. We only had one rain delay in that whole episode, so that project's complete. We're going to be bidding
And how
out the
did you
east
like
side
the-
this year.
Like working at night?
It was challenging. I think it went very well, to be honest, but it was a little bit challenging.
It was less disruptive for the community.
It was very, very, yes, the impact on the residents was very low. To do it on Bay West Boulevard, easily done. Doing it through the side streets, possibly a little bit more of a challenge. Not afraid of it at all, but, if that's something we wanted to consider for next year, we can certainly investigate it. And
Did it cost us any more to do it at night instead?
no, sir.
Good. Okay.
And I'm
Thank you.
happy to report that my golf cart will fit in the lane now.
So we did widen the lane to 6 feet
6
as
feet from
requested. If you remember, when we put it at 5 feet, it was more of, to get a feeling for everybody to see how everybody would react to it, but everybody seemed to like it. They liked the security of the paint line. So we did take it out to the 6 feet with this new paint.
Educate me, why don't you seal coat over the bridge? Why,
Because the bridge is concrete, so that will disappear pretty quickly.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else, Jeff?
No, I don't believe, Jason, you don't have anything, do you? Okay, all right.
Okay. I think that covers the agenda. So we are going to go into executive session at 4:53. We have two items on the executive session. It's relating to Michael Coffey or Coffey claim, including but not limited to affidavit of perfected claim of lien, and this is in consultation with the city attorney under Texas Government Code 551.071. And another item is to amend the city code section 13.03.02 related to water service rates and conditions to add a provision to exclude properties outside the ETJ from receiving water services in consultation with City Attorney, Texas Government Code 551.071. So no action will be taken in the public, in the executive session, but we will come out of the executive session to take any action. So we're going into executive session, if I could say it, at 4:54. Thank you.